Hey guys, in today's episode, what we're going to talk about is this: how to overcome test taking anxiety. Let's talk about it. Welcome to another episode of Career Strategies. My name is Rodney Hughes, Mr. 100%. Today's episode is being brought to you by Interview Prep University. This is a 100% free virtual training platform that is designed for anyone who needs help preparing for a telephone, video, or face-to-face interview. So if you need help preparing for an upcoming interview, you can take advantage of this 100% free resource so that you can exponentially improve your job interview skills in a very short time frame. If you'd like to get free access to it, just go to this website, www.interviewprepuniversity.com. Again, that's www.interviewprepuniversity.com. Okay, so again, what we're talking about in today's episode is how to overcome test-taking anxiety. It's such an important thing. So at certain points in your career, you may have to take a test of some sort. So it may be that you're going for a new job and that new job will require you to take a test. And, if you're not a great test taker, there's a certain amount of anxiety that can build up. And even if you are a great test taker, there can be a certain degree of anxiety that you have to deal with. And sometimes it can actually go to an extreme. Some people can almost be crippled by the anxiety that they feel going into a test because they feel like the stakes are so high, and sometimes the stakes are actually high. And so again, what I'm going to share with you in today's episode is really just some ideas that can potentially help you to deal with that anxiety so that you can overcome that anxiety and do the best job that you can possibly do in your upcoming test. Okay, so again, what I'm going to go over with you are 4 extremely effective strategies that have served me well and have served others well that I've taught these strategies to in the past. Okay, let's talk about it. Strategy number 1. Okay, this is a big one. You can't avoid this one. You have to study rigorously, but well before the test that you're actually about to take. See, here's the thing. When I say study rigorously, that means well in advance. That doesn't mean right before the actual test that you're about to take. See, the big mistake that hurts a lot of people from an anxiety perspective is that a lot of people procrastinate when it comes to actually preparing for a test that they have coming up. There are so many people that instead of let's say that they know they have a test that's coming up 2 or 3 weeks in advance, and instead of taking those 2 or 3 weeks to just rigorously study and rigorously go over the information that they need to go over to be best prepared for that test, a lot of times what people will do is they'll procrastinate, and then the day before, sometimes even hours before that very important test, then they want to start cramming in as much information as they can. And that doesn't, listen, even if you have a phenomenal memory, right? It doesn't really help you that much from an anxiety perspective when you cram at the last minute, right? So when possible, if you know you have a test that's coming up, do the work well in advance, right? You'll be surprised. This is probably the most important thing. If you do a good job of studying before you go into a test, a lot of times you won't have as much anxiety as you would have if you know you have an important test coming up, and then you know that you didn't do anything but wait until the last minute to try to cram in a few things into your mind and try to remember it going into the test. Okay? Strategy number 2. I want you to anticipate the anxiety through visualization. Now, this is a really important thing, and I actually get this from professional speaking. So I've said this before that, I read an article a long time ago that said that the world's number one fear is public speaking. There are more people afraid of public speaking than there are people afraid of death itself, which is kind of crazy. Okay. And so, public speaking is a very difficult thing to do. And I've had the pleasure of being able to speak in front of small audiences and also being able to speak in front of very large audiences, like multiple thousands. Okay. And the one thing that I always do, because I get nervous just like everybody else, but what I always do is I always try to anticipate the anxiety through visualization. Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to walk up there to deliver a public speech and not really anticipate the anxiety that's about to come my way. Because if it catches me off guard, right? If it catches me off guard, I'm in a bad situation. Okay. That anxiety can just jump on you and you could just start to freak the hell out. But on the other hand, if you expect that anxiety to come and you have visualized the anxiety coming to you well in advance and you've gone through that over and over again, when it comes, it doesn't have the same level of impact as opposed to it kind of catching you off guard a little bit. Okay. And that same philosophy works when it comes to taking a test. If this is not your first test that you've ever taken, your first big test that you've ever taken, and you know how you respond when you take big tests, then the thing is if you know that you typically will experience anxiety, don't try to leave it out of sight, out of mind. You need to be thinking about this as you're preparing. Remember, I told you to study rigorously, right, in the first strategy. Well, while you're studying, you want to set aside some time to actually visualize yourself going through that test, right? You want to visualize yourself going up there and actually being nervous, actually having that anxiety build up on you. You want to make it as real as humanly possible as you're visualizing it, so that way, when you show up for the test and that anxiety hits, you'll be fine. Okay. I actually used to work for a gentleman who's the #1 facilitator in the world. This man has gone into, I've never seen him actually do it. I've seen him speak in front of, smaller groups. But one of the things about this guy who owned this facilitation company that I used to work for, through clients, I've heard them tell me how he has walked in a room full of like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people and it has absolutely crushed it, has absolutely taken control of the room. And it was almost mesmerizing to my clients, right? And so I remember, and I've seen him in action. I just haven't seen him on that scale in action, but I've seen him in action. And if you were to see this guy, he seems like he is like the most confident person in the world when he's actually facilitating or doing some type of public speech. But this one particular day we were in a strategic planning session and I had a little bit of time with him and I said, "Hey, do you still get nervous when you're getting ready to go up and speak?" And he said, "I get nervous every single time." He was like, "As a matter of fact, I'm nervous right now." And he was nervous because he was about to lead a strategic planning session for the people in his company that he's around all the time. And he still was nervous. He still felt anxiety, right? But here's the key. And he dropped this. This was a golden nugget right here. He said, "You know what changed? Is," he said, "now I anticipate the nervousness. I anticipate the anxiety. And when it hits me, it's like, oh, I'm nervous. Oh, I feel anxious. So what's for lunch?" Right? That's how he said that he would respond. "Hey, so what are we doing now?" So he feels it come on. He anticipates it coming on. So then when it comes on, it doesn't catch him off guard and he's able to quickly move on to focus on other things. You understand? But again, if he wasn't prepared for it, if he wasn't anticipating it, it could potentially have a much stronger effect on him. Okay? So again, anticipate the anxiety through visualization. Strategy number 3, punctuality. It matters. You understand? You gotta be punctual. There's almost nothing that will cause more anxiety than you misjudging the amount of time that it's going to take for you to get to your testing location and you end up being late, or you're almost late. Okay, whether you're late or you're almost late, it does not help you from an anxiety perspective. So what I always recommend is make sure that you arrive at your testing location at least 30 minutes early, because what that will allow you to do is it will allow you to ease your mind. When you show up at least 30 minutes early, right, you can stay out in your car, or you can go into the testing facility, and it allows you to just sit down, calm down, okay, and just prepare yourself to go into that testing environment, right? But if you are showing up late, or if you are scrambling to get there and you're stuck in traffic and you're all this stuff, you have a hectic mind, you have a chaotic mind when you show up for that test. That's not going to help you from an anxiety perspective. And by the way, while I'm saying this, there are some instances in your career where you may have to take a test, let's say at your own home, right? Especially nowadays, sometimes they'll send you a test to take at your own home. That doesn't mean that you still won't experience anxiety. Okay, so what I would recommend is you use this same philosophy, whether you're taking a test at home or whether you're having to go on site for some type of test that you have to take. I would recommend, if you're at home, to go to a quiet place where there will be no distractions, get everything set up. And you want to have that set up 30 minutes prior to your actual test, right? And you want to sit down and just chill out. Even if you sit down and you just look on your phone a little bit or listen to some music or whatever, do whatever you need to do, but just make sure that you're in a calm state at least 30 minutes prior to that test, because it will help you tremendously from an anxiety perspective. And then strategy number 4, okay? Right before you actually go into the test, this can typically be the peak of your anxiety that you may be feeling. So here's what I would want you to do. I want you to practice taking some calming breaths. Okay, this is a strategy that oftentimes people use in meditation and various other things, but I want you to practice taking a calming breath. And so there are 3 steps that you take for taking a calming breath. Okay, a breath that will actually calm you down from a physiological perspective. Step number 1, you take a long breath, you take a long, slow breath through your nose. So you breathe in through your nose, long and slow. All right. Then step number 2, once you breathe in through your nose, then you want to hold your breath for a count of 3. So you breathe in, 1, 2, 3. And then step number 3, you exhale slowly through pursed lips while relaxing your entire body, right? So just what pursed lips is like you're almost whistling, right? So, right? And you exhale. And I want you to do that. I want you to do those 3 steps like at least 4 or 5 times right before you get started. Okay, in the last minute, right before you start that test, take those calming breaths. Okay, take the long breath in through your nose, hold for a count of 3, and then exhale through your mouth through pursed lips. And do that several times, and watch how, from a physiological perspective, you will start to calm down. Okay, your anxiety will start to lessen. All right, and I think if you do these 4 things, it will tremendously improve your odds of not dealing with this strong anxiety that is a very natural thing, by the way. Okay, it's a supernatural thing. And that's one thing I want you to keep in mind as well. Like, this is natural. This happens to everybody. So don't feel like it's just happening to you. Okay, this happens to almost everybody. Not almost everybody. Look, some people, different things cause anxiety for different people. But understand this, there are millions, maybe even billions of people that experience this anxiety just like you. So it's a very normal thing. Okay, and these are 4 strategies that can potentially help you to overcome that anxiety so that you can perform at peak performance. All right. Listen, hopefully you got great value out of today's episode. Listen, if you haven't done so already, I want you to order a copy of my new book, The Ugly Truth About Getting Hired: How to Land the Job of Your Dreams Regardless of the Competition. The biggest challenge that you are going to face in your career is competition, hands down. Right here, right now, as we speak, the competition is absolutely fierce in the workforce. Okay. Over the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years, it's going to get absolutely insane. Okay. And this is a book. This is a solution that can help you. This is a solution that can help you exponentially improve your odds of eliminating 99% of your competition and being able to position yourself as the ideal candidate of choice when you're interviewing, whether you're interviewing now or whether you're going to go through an interview later in your career. Okay, this is a must-have book. So, and when you order this book, I'm going to send out an autographed copy of the book, but I'm also going to give you free access to a downloadable version of the book immediately so that you don't have to wait on the information to come to you and you can immediately dive into it. Okay. So if you'd like to pick up a copy of this book, just go to my website, www.theuglytruthbook.com. Again, that's www.theuglytruthbook.com. All right. Listen, hopefully you got great value out of this episode. If you did, listen, do me a favor, share this video or this podcast with as many people as you possibly can. And also connect with me on social media. I'm on Instagram. You can look me up at Rodney Hughes 100. Okay, connect with me on Instagram, connect with me on Twitter, connect with me on the YouTubies. All right. Connect with me, family. I want to hear from you. Let me know what your favorite part of this video was or of this podcast, however you're listening to this. And I will see you in the next episode. Take care.